Well, there it is. That is the framing lumber for the floor, plus a couple extra boards. I got one here. This is like the worst looking one. It's kind of nasty, in my opinion. So I got what I estimated to be enough to frame the 8x8 floor in, plus a few extra because you never know if you have a bad board or whatever. But also, I might use it to run some bracing. This is all ground contact treated. I decided to get ground contact or treated lumber because, you know, this is the lowest level. Obviously over here you don't have much to worry about. Over here you're still off the ground, but I just figured for the lowest point of the structure, just get treated. Figured it couldn't hurt. It was like $1 more per board, I think, so it's not that much more expensive or anything. As you can see, like when I was bringing them over here, I was laying on flat, but I decided to do that, and I used one of those straps that I was using to put it on the cable and strap it to that to try and hold them together so they don't fall over. But I wanted to do that just to try and prevent any warping that could happen. I don't know if that's really anything to worry about, but I thought of it, so I figured I should try to do something about it. So anyway, we got the lumber we need. I think I should be good to continue using those nails I've been using, so all we got to do is get back out here and get to work. It took a long time to get the cable set up and whatnot to be able to move the lumber here. I spent way more time probably than it would have taken me to just walk it all over, but it's technically a lot less effort than walking up and down for each and every board. I could carry 2 at a time, but I'm a weakling and that gets heavy, especially walking up and down the slope. So I invested some money and some time into getting the cable operational. So I think we're all good over here, and let's go. I'll show you what I got to make this work, which is probably pretty obvious. And this is what I rigged up to keep it from sliding away. I just hooked that onto it, and that stops it. I got it tethered to the tree there. And yeah, I think these pulleys need to be oiled. I don't know if it'll really help them, but they sure are squeaky. So what I did is I bought a little pack of ratchet straps, and I think they're 16 feet long. It was only $10, so I figured I'd give it a shot. Never used them before. And you may be able to tell that I have 2 of them hooked up together, and that's because of the angle of the cable that I have here, without going through the trouble of having to cut down more of these trees and stuff to make a clearer shot. I need it to be more along, because I had it originally tied to this tree, so I needed it to be as close to that as possible. So I originally tried hooking it to that one, but it was too far over. That one was just too far away. It was like if I had just had another, like where you can see it, if I had had another 2 feet on the strap, then I probably could have just done it with one, but it wasn't happening. I also almost got my eye poked out. You can see that the this is wrapped around here. This is the end of the cable where it was sticking out, and it was all frayed and stuff, and when I was messing with the cable it shot up, or it was something I was doing, and I moved towards it moved towards me. Something happened and it hit me like right under my eye. And I was like, oh, that wouldn't have felt good if it actually hit my eye. It's all frayed with those little tiny metal shards sticking out. So as you can see, the cable's working better than it was anyway. It still gets low right here at this point. If I dug it out and made it more sloped, I could probably fix that. But for now, with one board, it did fine. With two, it sags just enough to just clip that. So I had that worse looking board on the ground over there, but it was too far out, so they just hit it and pushed it away. But anyway, so I don't know how long this setup will last. I'm waiting on something to snap, but for now, I mean, it makes moving stuff back and forth a hell of a lot easier. So that's what I did today. Took forever, but we got it done. If this holds up, then maybe we've got a system to help move lumber in the future. Well, we are back at the job site, and as you can see, I went ahead and took the last 2 remaining bags of the concrete mix and topped off most of these holes. I didn't get this center one here. It just wasn't enough. This hole over here, and this one, and that one in particular, of course, the tallest one over there on the end. They were all kind of deep, had a good bit of room for more, so I've just focused on those. I got a little bit in that middle one over there, but the edge of that hole is so shallow, like it can't really go much higher than that. Didn't get any in that one, like I said. Don't really know if I need to, but I feel better having extra in these, where maybe I don't have to be as paranoid about moving on with putting weight on this with a little bit extra reinforcement in there. If I had one more bag, I'd probably be done. But I think where we're at is actually pretty good, especially for these up top here. They're probably way more than necessary. So the objective for today, or the next objective, I think is going to be trying to cut this down. I got to figure out which side. I guess there's probably more block under it on this side than over here. So what I want to do is try to shave this down enough to get the plate on here if I can, and then go ahead and add the plates to all the other posts, and yeah, that'll be good. I could shave this part down, but if it's going to be under, I don't think it's necessary. If I just shave this one down, I think we'll be good. I need to tap that nail head in there a bit more. This, I think, can go. Been tripping on it. My very high-tech string wire hook. Trim this down a bit. Well, it is by no means perfect, but hopefully it'll be adequate reinforcement. And see if maybe a screw here will help keep it from moving over so much while I'm nailing it. How many nails do you think it needs? It's got like 10 holes per side on this thing. I might do 5. Well, that's what I got. They say a triangle is the strongest shape, so I can always add more later, I guess, but that seems like it would be adequate. Let me know if I'm wrong about that. Destroyed by mosquitoes. So all of our strong ties are in place. Went pretty well. The ones in the middle, I couldn't nail the same way I've been doing the corners because it's these two meeting up. So in the fashion that I've been doing the footings, I kind of considered them a little bit less important. So you know, I think they may have 1 or 2 less nails than the others, but this corner over here, when I got done, it was like a ½ inch or more off of our 8-foot measurement. And I don't know if it's the post moving, because it looked like the beam was still good, so I don't know, maybe the post is still moving in the hole a little bit. One thing I do intend to try maybe is put cross boards using either the 2x8s or get 2x4s or something, and do some cross bracing between the piers and whatnot to help reinforce that and maintain things. So maybe that'll help with any issues such as that. I guess we're at the point now where we can start framing our foundation. Still don't know the word for it, and no, I didn't look it up either. So what I was doing there is measuring my 4-foot mark. It shouldn't really matter because of the way I'm doing this, but I just wanted to know where my 4-foot mark is. So our 8-foot boards are going to go from that end to this mark here, and this is where our framing will be. So I have to admit I'm nervous about this bit. Ever since, you know, my cutting fiascos with all this and everything, it's made me very nervous about cutting and getting things done right. The issues I faced along the way has definitely put a damper on whatever confidence I did have. So I just really want to try to make sure I get this right. Basically my intention is you're going to have a ridge board on this beam, ridge board on this beam, and all the joists in between are going to be cut to length. So it's got to be 8 feet total, meaning if each board is 1.5 inches, that means I have to take 3 inches off of each board in order to get them to fit in between those. Seems really simple, but I'm going to take a minute and just measure and check everything and, you know, just try to be as sure as I can that I'm doing the right thing. And I also have to remember to crown them. I know that. That's one of the main things you always see. I watch it in videos and it's like, yeah, we know you have to crown the boards, but I guarantee I'm going to forget. Some of these are hard to tell. Like I feel like I can look over there and I see that one's really obvious, like the crown is up. But on this one, it looks pretty straight both ways, but I think this is crown up. Alright, so measuring this board, it's about 8.5 feet. 8 feet and 1/2 inch. The issue I have is since this is treated, I know it's supposed to dry and probably shrink up a little bit, but I don't know by how much. And you know, I'm new to this. I don't have any experience with how this is going to work, so it makes me, you know, I'm not sure how to compensate for that. Like, I know obviously if it's going to shrink, then you cut it a little bit bigger. Yeah, I just don't have the experience to know exactly how to do that and make sure everything turns out right. So I think there's a woodpecker pecking away somewhere up there. The only thing I really know to do is just cut it to the dimensions that I need and hope that the shrinkage doesn't destroy it. Whatever, like, I'm sure if you do this a lot, you can get like a general feel for how it's going to eventually turn out. But I don't have any experience. And you could say, you know, well, you should have went with non-treated lumber, and I considered it, like, because it was, like, you know, about $1 cheaper or whatever. But I'm just worried about this particular end being close to the ground. You saw me brushing it off, like stuff has splattered up onto this. You know, that's probably not that big of a deal, I guess, but I just wanted to make sure that, you know, anything underneath is going to be more or less protected. Is that a mistake to try and frame out of treated wood? Probably. Alright, well, that's supposed to be about 8 feet. Also, I haven't shown you, I got some new gloves. The ones I was wearing, obviously, I don't think they're really meant for woodworking. But they also, in the middle finger of both of them, at the tip of the middle finger, they got a hole in them. I haven't had them very long and haven't used them that much. They're comfortable and they're nice gloves for working in the yard or whatever, but they do not hold up. So at this point I need to probably mark my layout. But what I was considering doing is trying to cut down 2 of the joists to make like a full box, then marking my layout of the in-betweens. I feel like that would help me kind of visualize this and see how things are lining up before I go and cut a bunch of boards, and then that'll also help it to stand up to make it easier to lay out. So what I've been doing is marking these with an arrow to remind me of where the crown is, or where I perceive it to be, so I don't have to check them every time. Alright, I took the measuring tape and went over it a few times, and I hit it to rack it back this way, and it looks like we're just about square. I got approximately 135 and 5/8 to 3/4 on this run, and approximately 135 5/8 to 3/4 is like within that 1/8, I think both of them are. I'll probably measure again just to double check or quadruple check at this point, but if this is square, then we'll be pretty good to go. Well, here it is, for better or worse. I think the 4x4s here don't sit exactly right. Like, this is up higher off of it than it should be, but I couldn't get this flush. It moved over on me when I was trying to nail this in, I think, and I went to the other side to nail in and try to push it, but it seemed like that was actually making it raise up. So I don't know, I'll maybe get a fresh mind and try to come out here and look at it again, but I think I'm pretty much ready to call it for the day. Probably need to check my measurements for square again. I mean, at least we got something to look at, right? Well, as you can see, I have the joists cut and set in place. I have not nailed them yet. Still got to figure out what to do about that end. I got to shim it, and I realized that my joist there that goes up to the rim, I was down on the ground, so I couldn't see the top, and I didn't realize that it wasn't flush with the top. So I got to figure out how I'm going to remedy that. Thankfully, cutting these joists went really smoothly. You know, I haven't nailed them in or anything yet, but so far it looks like we did okay on cutting our joists. So again, I didn't bring my good camera to really show everything that I'm doing. Honestly, it's kind of helpful. I feel like some of the mistakes I'm making might be because I'm trying to film and document as much as I can, so my attention is kind of split. It's kind of unfortunate. Maybe I'll try to be more conscious of that, so that when I'm filming myself, I'm not devoting too much brain power to the filming aspect, I guess. I don't know. Well, I got them all nailed in. I'm going to add a third nail to each of these. Right now I only have 2 in each joist. And I also have to put one in, I guess, there to tie it down to the beam. But I came through and did my best to flush these up with the top. Over here, this is the one I had to correct. I put a wedge in it. You can see it right in there, and then I put the third nail in it to help hold it in place. So you see this gap here? It's a huge gap. I think I'm going to cut little wedges. I did the wedge thing here again in order to flush this one up, because this joist is still sticking up a bit more than I would like, but you know, none of them are going to be perfect. Even on the other side I didn't get them perfect, but I just used a little bit of wedging here. Now, this is where the problem is because these boards don't line up, and maybe I should have kept a closer eye on that, but if I had a planer or something, I maybe could have fixed it. Or I just could have put a wedge under here, like, I don't know. Anyway, so I'm going to cut some more wedges and try to stick them in here just to give this a little bit more support, I guess. And then put my final nails in, and the floor frame will be done, I guess, I hope. That should do it for the joist and the floor framing here. Like I said, some of these boards aren't perfectly flush. I can show you that in a second, but I got 3 nails in each one. You can see there, 3 nails in each end, and then one. I can't see what I'm filming. There's 1 in each joist going into the beam. So I got that the same all the way around. I've continually checked for square, measuring diagonally. Of course, with all the joists in the way, it's a little bit difficult to make sure I've got the thing where I want it, and I can't just walk between them. I have to kind of fish it over there and hook it the best I can. But from what I can tell, like I measured that corner to this corner, and that was like 135 3/4, just about. And from that corner to this corner, I got like 135 5/8, just a hair over maybe. So that seems to be within an eighth. So I think we're good on our square measurement. I don't know how, but we'll find out when we go to put sheeting on it. So here's the shimming that I did. It was rather difficult and tedious to try and get this right. I got most of it in out here, and then I got some in over here, just trying to get fairly decent coverage. It's not perfect, but I just figured, you know, it needed a little something in there if I had, you know, more fitting pieces. This has a gap, but I don't know if that's really enough to worry about. You can let me know in the comments, but I'll probably be pretty far beyond this point by the time you see this. So it may not get implemented if there's any good suggestions. Things went a little bit better today. I found that I kind of feel incomplete and depressed when I get through with things after I kind of have to leave it off on a problem. So I don't handle that very well. I like to solve things and get it dealt with before I walk away from it. And unfortunately, I haven't had the opportunity to do that every time I come out here. So anyway, there's the floor joist, and I'm hoping possibly Monday is the day I'll be getting the rest of the, not all of the lumber that I need, but a good portion of the lumber that I need. And we'll be able to go ahead and plywood this and start on some walls, I guess. But one thing I want to do, I'm going to take these spare 2x8s I have, and I'm going to rig them across these, because I figured it'll act as a strengthener, but also I thought it would be a good way to store some of the wood, so I can get a bunch of it over here and put it here, so I don't have to get it in little bits and, you know, spend all this time bringing it over. I'll just have to take like a day or two and transport all the materials here, and I'll set up these or 4x4s or something in such a way that it'll make like a rack under here, and then I can probably set it up so I can just come right down here and get them out. It'd be better if I had it on the side over here. I would prefer this, but I don't know, it might be a bit cramped here unless I get rid of these trees and stuff, so I don't know, I'll figure it out and I'll let you know. So here's what we're dealing with. Just screwed on this 2x8 here. I wanted to go lower so it would give me more room here, but being that we're on a slope as usual, I had to go a little higher. And then I took the pieces, the ends I took off of the 2x8s and screwed them onto the bottom of those scrap 4x4s to create little feet so they would stop rolling down the hill every time I mess with something. And it seems to be working out pretty well, so those will be like the rest over there, so boards can sit on this, and then the other ends can sit under there on that. Like, I may be able to move them further in. Technically, I probably should have screwed this on the inside so they would be fully covered here. So I might move it, but that's the general idea anyway. One other thing I wanted to show about this area over here where I shimmed it, I'm not sure. I mean, if I go back and look at my previous videos or something, maybe I'll see it, but it's flush over here. Like, there's not much of a gap, and then it starts to take on a gap. So maybe I didn't crown this board properly. I think I tried to, or something. But I mean, it gets this gap here, and it is up here above this one. So I don't know, I'm kind of at a loss as to why that happened, other than, you know, like I said, if I crowned this one, I did it the wrong way, so it's kind of like dipping. But then, of course, you know, that's the worst of it, is where this board just does not meet up at all. So hopefully the shimming is good enough. And we'll just leave it at that. So with that, I'm gonna call it a day, and yeah,